What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for my first album review of 2017, and it's for the English rock band You, Me at 6, and this new album is called Night People. I don't even know if I pointed to 6 on my watch, I'm not exactly sure, but you get the point of what I was going for there, and I do get the point of what You, Me at 6 are driving for on their new record. I cannot say I was at all excited to hear this after, listening to Cavalier Youth back in 2014. Just a very, very forgettable album that saw the band going in the blandest direction possible. It felt like rock and pop without really any heart to it at all. And honestly, the only song that I can genuinely say with a serious face that I actually liked was Room to Breathe. Fresh Start Fever, okay, that's another one that I will definitely give a pass to, but the rest of the album, just a thumbs down in my book, especially after the great album that was Sinners Never Sleep. That's the album that got me into them, and I listened to some of their earlier stuff. I would definitely say it was more in like the pop punk, alternative rock, I would say, overall vein. And here, with this new album, they basically said, what are we gonna do as this next decade as a band? They've been a band for like 10 years now. How are we gonna kick things off? What do we want people to know us as? And I really respect that, and I really respect that they went in a different direction with their music. I'm hearing some darker tones and themes, and overall, if I had to describe this with one genre, I would say rock. It's a straight rock and roll album. It definitely has its heavier moments, and then there's the more lenient ones that go easy, maybe mislead you a little bit, like Spell It Out, a fantastic track, the next to last song on this album. It's one that starts off with these dark toned guitars and it breaks into it a little bit more, and then a roaring guitar just really crushes you, catches you off guard, and it sees and goes through this little transformation that I have to say that I absolutely love. Josh, as a vocalist for this band, really seems to be getting a little bit grittier and raw with his voice, and I was very, very excited whenever I saw the producer that was attached to this album. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but I've known him for a long time. Jacquire King. He's produced albums for like Kings of Leon, Only by the Night, their breakout album in 2008. If you rewind all the way to 2000, he produced Switchfoot's Learning to Breathe. There's just a lot of albums that I know and like that he's had his name attached to, so obviously I got kind of excited whenever I saw that he was producing the new You, Me at 6. And I was like, hey, you know what? I was digging into the album. I was like, maybe this, okay, I can see what he did there with these touches, and he made these guitars a little bit louder. I think the bass stands out a little bit more. The drums, I don't know, they're consistent. They're not something that really jump off the page to me, but kudos for him adding a little bit of new life to this band. The title track, Night People, was the first song that I heard from this album, and it's also the first song on the record. It's just not one that really catches my attention in that many ways. I kind of get that it was going for a little bit bigger of a rock vibe, trying to kind of transcend some of their past work, but at the same time, it just feels like they kind of neglect the subject matter and the song as a whole. It doesn't feel that fully fleshed out. I mean, it feels like a rock song. It feels like something that maybe in a concert setting, it would sound a little bit better, but overall, I was pretty disappointed by it, and I heard it, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't get me hyped up for a new album whatsoever. I wasn't even sure if I was going to check it out, but I heard some of you guys talking about it, and I was like, we have to give it a chance, especially since there's not a ton of stuff coming out right now. What else is on my schedule other than me being, about to take off for vacation? Why not squeeze in one more album? And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I gave this a chance, because other than some of these songs that I'm skipping over and kind of dismissing as generic, I won't say that there's really any bad ones per se on the album. There's plenty of forgettable, but at the same time, I like that they're showing a little bit more ambition. They're in their second decade now as a band, and for them to be taking on new signs of growth and life, that can only mean good things. Now, I already talked about Spell It Out being a fantastic song near the end of this record, and honestly, I feel like its second half really starts to move into something a whole lot better than that first half. They just kind of start to move into something else, starting with the track Swear. I believe that was one of the singles. I don't really keep up with that with You, Me at 6 and bands in general these days. I just find myself seeing albums coming out and I'm like, how did I miss that had a single release? And it really just goes to show you how unimportant singles are, in some regards at least, in this day and age. Swear is a very, very catchy track. I didn't care for it that much at first, but honestly, listening to this album through and through, I can see that it grew on me a whole lot and is now one of my favorite tunes. It's got a big chorus. I like the rollicking guitars on it. They're a whole lot of fun, and that's a recurring theme that we see throughout the second half of this album. Right after that, we get Make Your Move, another guitar-heavy one that really is very infectious, gets stuck in your head, and then Can't Hold Back. I like the punishing drums and the menacing guitar line that comes through. It's got a great solo that really just caps this thing off. A whole lot of energy. Big win for You, Me at 6. Now, I already talked about loving Spell It Out, but I also have to give kudos to track number 10, which is Give, another one that kind of is a little bit deceptive with starting off slow and then working in a whole lot of guitars, a whole lot of meaning into the lyrical content as well. Now, there are other tracks that I kind of like. I mean, I'm not saying that I love every single one of those ones on the second half there. There's a lot of big standouts. And on the first half, there aren't, just that many that I absolutely detest or don't like or anything like that. I'm just kind of indifferent on a lot of them. Plus One was one that stood out a little bit more to me. And then Heavy Soul, it just feels like something maybe from the 90s. It feels like I've heard it before, though. He's like talking to this person, maybe a girl or something like that, saying, I can tell that you've got all this baggage, all this other stuff. Maybe let me help you with that burden. And I just kind of sit there, I'm listening to it, and it's okay, but it's kind of like You, Me at 6 on cruise control. I already mentioned, didn't really care for the title track all that much. Take on the World, another slow one that I just kind of breeze through. I find myself skipping over it because I'm like, yeah, I get the gist of it. I get what's going on here. I don't care for it that much. I'm not offended by it, but at the same time, and I kind of feel the same way about track number 5, Brand New. That's one that really kind of tries to shift things. I really start to see them trying to shift the album at this point, but it doesn't really work until the next track, Swear. Overall for me, do I like this? Do I love this? I'm kind of in the middle somewhere. I do like a lot of these songs. I don't think that they have a very high replay factor to them, a shelf life, although You, Me at 6 have never been one of those bands that I just find myself reaching out for and desperate for new material from them. It's something that I'll hear on shuffle maybe, and I'm okay with that, but I don't really find myself seeking them out. Overall for this album, it is an improvement over Cavalier Youth. They're showing signs of life. Moderately low replay factor, I would say, and for me, I'm going with a 3 for the new album, Night People by You, Me at 6. Sorry if I seemed really tired while filming this video. I'm about to leave for vacation. I'm absolutely drained right now. Be sure to leave a like on this video. I've got a few coming for you that I pre-filmed this week, and subscribe to the channel because friends don't let friends go and subscribe. My last You, Me at 6 review right here, another rock review right here, social media linked in the description, and other than that, I will see you guys very soon right here on ARTV.